Hello, my friends. As always, and I would assume this is de rigueur for for any stream on Earth right now. I'm going to spend the first 30 seconds vamping about how I am sharing the link to the stream with all my social media channels. And that is always boring for you, the audience, but here we are together. So that means a lot to me. I'm using maybe 30% of my brain to do a tweet. And then the rest is all you though. The rest is all you. But there is, you're getting 70% right now, which is not the best. You're live is what I'm going to say. And then I'm going to tweet that out. And now I'm done. So now we're back. Hi. I hope you're hanging in there. I know. Hey, I know. But we're going to talk about something fun and not at all bad today. And that thing is geocaching. How did I get into geocaching? I have no memory. I've been doing it for maybe 10 years. It is something that I think it would not be unfair to say had its heyday a few years back. We are perhaps past peak geocaching, but from what I've seen, it kind of comes in waves. You have times when it's very hot, very today, very now, and you have times when it's not quite popular. So what is geocaching? Okay. So geocaching is a treasure hunt that you can do for basically free, basically free. Kind people or people who want to get involved have hidden boxes of treasure all over the world. There's millions of geocaches for you to find, and they are in your neck of the woods almost certainly. Probably. If you live in a really remote area, you may not find many, but there's probably some around you. There's several hundred just in Huntington, West Virginia, where I live, which is not a bustling metropolis by any stretch of the imagination. And it's fun. It's a great way to get outside. You don't have to be around people. So in these trying times, that's excellent. It's good to do with kids because it's a treasure hunt. It's fun to do by yourself. Just get out there. What I really like about it is that it takes you to places in the place that you live that you've never been before. You see it in a whole other way. And you really, I think, get more of an appreciation of the world around you through geocaching. Plus, again, very fun. So you want to geocache, right? I get it. First thing you're going to want to do is get the app. The one I use is called Geocaching. I think that's probably the app that everybody uses. You can get a free version. I know. I think it's limited in some ways. I got a membership several, many years ago. I think the cost is like $9.99 for 3 months, or maybe $40 for a year, or something like that. But again, there's a free version which you can use if you like. And that will be where you start. I tell you about that now. We're gonna dig into that here in a second. I'm telling you about that now in case you want to go ahead and get it and download it while we're chatting here. You can do that. So let's talk about some terms that you might see once you open up the app. This is just kind of to establish a glossary, because people who create geocaches title them and then they give a description of what the geocache is. They rate them in terms of difficulty or challenge and some of the things you might find around there. Some are funny, some are pretty bland. It varies. But you might see a few different like acronyms. There's a ton of these, but some of the ones that are most prominent, Muggles is one you'll see a lot. Now that is I think kind of unfortunate, but it is the term that is used for people who are not geocaching. So if you see a high Muggle area or watch out for Muggles, that means that there will be people who are not geocaching, and to them, you will look like, an insane person. And so you're going to have to figure out a way to cloak it if you care about that. I don't anymore. I'm 39. It doesn't bother me. Something to consider. Another acronym you see a lot is TFTC. That means thanks for the cache. That's a very short way of saying like, hey, I found this cache and I appreciate you hiding it. So it's gratitude. FTF is one you'll see a lot, and that's first to find. The person who is FTF often will boast about that in their log of the geocache. Park and grab. That's when you'll see a lot. Now that geocaching really, I think, has its roots with something that's a little more outdoor, find it in the forest. Park and grab are a lot easier. They're kind of the thing where you roll up to it, you get out of your car, you look around for the cache, and you find it. Those are fun, especially with younger kids. Those are easy, good ones to look for. And LPC is another term I wanted to establish real quick. That is a lamppost cache. One of the wildest things you'll discover about when you start geocaching is how many things in the built world are loose and able to be lifted. One of those is the cover of a lamppost. So if you see, think of a light post or lamppost on the street, the base of that oftentimes you can lift up, which is an easy, very common place to hide a cache. So common that people have started, have the acronym for it. So, okay, so you got the geocaching app. You downloaded it. You're going to pop it open, and they're going to see a little dot. That's you, and then hopefully surrounding you will be different caches. And you'll see those represented as little green squares with a picture of a cube in there, or a box or something. The first thing you're going to want to do is filter. There's a little flashlight up at the upper right-hand corner. You're going to filter out things that aren't caches. People use the geocaching app and the idea of geocaching for a lot of different things. There's some that are virtual geocaches. There's some where it's just like, go here to take a picture. There's some that are part of a chain. There's some that are the beginning of a puzzle where you have to like know the GPS coordinates and work out, do some math and stuff like that. I filter all those out. They're less common, and I'm not interested in like a virtual cache. I want to open up something and get some treasure. The different so we're going to filter those out. So when you find a cache that's near you, we're going to pick our first cache that we're going to go after. Okay. So first thing we want to look for is location. What's near you? Might as well pick one near you, or someplace you're going to be. That's easy enough. Next one is type. They range in sizes from nano, which is basically like almost like a tiny little tic tac size cache that's magnetic. That'll just have a little log usually rolled up inside of it that you take out and write your name real small, then roll it back up and put it back in there. That's a nano. After that is like micro, which is usually closer to like film canister size, and then they range up in size from there. So you're going to want to know what you're going to be looking for there. So we picked that, right? The next thing you want to look for is activity. So when you've clicked on this cache, you see the size it is. Okay, that seems fun. We're going to go after it. It's a larger size. I would recommend start with the larger size because those will have like little trinkets and fun stuff in there usually, but it's up to you. And once you've found that, you're going to look at activity. Now, on every geocache listing, there's a bit for activity that will tell you the last thing that happened with that. One of the things that should make you a little cautious is if no one has found it for a very long time. If the last activity was finding it, a year ago, that makes you worry that maybe it's not there anymore. And if you see DNF on a certain date or several DNF as the most recent logs, that means did not find. So that could be worrisome because like one of the things that is in the nature of geocaching is that these caches get destroyed, they get removed, whatever, lost, you name it, stolen, you name it. So if you see one where the most recent entry is DNF, that's something to look out for because they might not be there anymore and you don't want to waste your time looking for it. So that's something to be aware of. The next two things we're going to look at are terrain and difficulty. Terrain is rated from, I think, 1 to 5 or 0 to 5. The same with difficulty. Difficulty is how well hidden the cache is. Terrain is how rugged the terrain surrounding it is going to be. I'm not a big outdoorsy person. I typically I like to keep those lower in the terrain sense. I've done some that required, climbing up hills and all that and going out in the forest and everything. And I'm for the birds. No, thank you. Sometimes, but not usually. Okay. So you picked your cache. Excellent. So what do you want to bring with you when you go to get this cache? Well, obviously you need your app, your geocaching app. It can be a little taxing on the battery, so make sure you're pretty well charged up there. Something else you want to think about is a pin. You want to have a pen to sign the log. Almost every geocache will have a log where you sign it in manner of garbage in the in the geocache. Um, there's a wide variety, and you can bring whatever you want. I've brought Disney pins that my daughter doesn't want anymore. I've brought little like Adventure Zone trinkets that we have left over, like promotional things. I've put in some people make their own cards for their like geocaching team, and they'll leave those in there. Poker chips. I found little toys. I found candy. Don't do that. Gross. No one's going to take your gross candy out of the geocache. But the basic idea is you take one thing, you leave one thing. So you find something in there that you want or probably don't want, but you want to be a good sport. So you take something out and then you leave something of your own. One special thing to note here is there are some geocache items that are trackable. And the idea with these is they'll have a unique code and a URL on them. You'll go to the URL, you'll enter the code and say where you found them, and then you'll go re-hide this trackable. And you can see that trackable's progress across the country or the area. And the person who originally hit it can see all the different places that it's been. So with those, you don't want to hold on to them. You want to, log them and then put them back in a different geocache and send them on their merry way. So that's what to know about trackables. When you go, I would not dress too nicely. You will occasionally have to step in some mud. Usually, even if it's a really easy terrain, you might need to take a couple steps into mud. So don't dress too nicely there. Bring some water, just because it's always good to have water. That's important. So you make your swap. So that is what you bring. So, okay, we haven't made our swap yet. We haven't even found the dang thing yet. So when you go to the basic area that this is in, you're going to be able to switch to a sort of compass view on your app that shows you where it is. Now, this is not going to be exact. This is going to be within about 10 feet usually, because GPS technology is weird. So you get as close as you can, and then you start looking around. You look under rocks. You look behind rocks. You look in the grass. You look all around for someplace that might hide a geocache. In a lot of caches, there will be a hint that you can click on and see the hint for the thing. If you're stuck, another thing you can do if you're stuck is to look at the log in the app. There's a virtual log and a real log. The real log is what people write their names on. The virtual log, people say, when they found it. Oftentimes they'll put pictures up, and that can usually kind of give you a hint. Usually people won't spoil the exact location. But when you find it, you take it out, you're going to feel very proud of yourself, very excited. And you're going to write your name in the log. You say that you found it. Woo, you found it. And then if it's big enough for like trinkets or whatever to be in, you'll leave a trinket, take a trinket if you like to. And then you're going to re-hide it just how you found it, or as close as you can possibly get. So the next person can find the geocache. And then you're off to the next one. You repeat the process all over. And the last thing you want to do actually is log it virtually. You say, I found it, and you leave a little message. It takes a bit of work to get one of these set up. So it's nice when you have set one up to get the emails every once in a while. It's cool to know that somebody found it. And if you leave them a nice little note, that can kind of make their day. So I think that is a nice thing to do. One thing to be careful of when you do get the cache, I have had a couple where I have opened it and some dingleberry has left something edible in there, and it's just filled with bugs. So that's unpleasant. You want to be ready for that. One time also I opened a lamppost cache, and there was a little lizard underneath there, and it scared the bejesus out of me. So be careful about that. Try to stay brave. Okay, so that is finding geocache. That's how you do that. Just as a side note before I get to the question portion, say you want to hide your own. It's not that hard. What you want to do is first, I would recommend finding some first, so you get an idea of what you're doing. Second, so you want to hide your own, right? So first, you need a waterproof container. These are all over Amazon or wherever, hardware stores or anywhere that you want to go. There's probably something in your house, so you can avoid going out of your house. Speaking of, probably bring some like sanitary wipes or something, something to like clean the box, gloves, whatever. Be careful about that when you're getting the treasure out. It's probably fine. There's not a lot of evidence of that kind of transmission, but I don't know. Better safe than sorry. So get yourself a waterproof container. Some people use film canisters. That's like an easy, cheap one. But look around your house. You can find something that works. Next, you want to find the spot. You need to either own where you're going to put it, or you need to get permission from the landowner. There's a lot of businesses where someone has come to the business owner and said, hey, I want to hide this here. It's going to bring foot traffic to you. I know there's one near the Midway Drive-In in Huntington, which is a drive-in restaurant. I know there's one hidden there. So, you head over to the restaurant, you get your cache, and, if you want to buy a hot dog while you're there, go nuts. So you get your cache, you put some stuff in it. You can, like I said, you can start with any kind of trinkets you want. Get a log, and put a pin in there too. The log, I think, is smart to put in a sandwich baggie or something watertight, so that doesn't get ruined, even if water somehow makes it into the cache. And then you're gonna, once it's hidden, you want to upload it to the website. You're gonna need your GPS coordinates. You can actually do this with Google Maps. If you find the exact dot you're on Google Maps, and then you search for it, you can see the coordinates of where you are at. You'll need those to upload the cache. And you'll put a description in and, clues or whatever, and then you'll submit it. They usually send someone out to check it out, make sure they can find it, and then they'll approve it, and your cache will be there so people can start finding it if you want to get involved in that way. So, okay. So, all right. That's geocaching in a nutshell. I would, if you have a serious question, I would be happy to try to answer them. I should say trans rights, obviously, first before we begin, so we can move past that into some geocaching discussion. Obviously, always very important to say trans rights. Trans rights, that's the third time. Oh, no. Sometimes trans rights will appear behind you if you say it 3 times, so you got to be careful. This is welcome to my studio, by the way. This is where I record all of our podcasts. What is the coolest thing you found while geocaching? I like to find random pictures of people's families with a cool geocaching team name that they came up with, because that delights me. So that is, are you allowed to leave caches in Disneyworld? No, you have to, again, own. I mean, if you're like a descendant of Roy O. Disney or Walt Disney or part of the Disney lineage, I'm sure, or Bob Iger's nephew maybe could, or Bob Chapek's, I guess, at this point, although Iger has kind of stepped back in with the COVID stuff. For it's great to do with kids. I don't remember how I got into geocaching. Thank you for asking. Let's see. We're at like a rest stop while you're traveling. Very often at rest stops, very common to find one there because it's public land. So you'll often find one at a rest stop, or at least in the area. Farthest place from home I've geocached, I don't know, probably California or Florida, maybe Tybee Island. I think I've geocached there a few times. It's great. You can spend 10 minutes anywhere you're at. It works. What's the coolest thing I've left? The World Builders had these cards made, these like cards that for charity, where it was something you could use in D&D and get to like it was taco themed, and you could like get some sort of help from taco at some point. They're very cool. But I've left some of those in geocaches before. Let's see. How do you not look suspicious when geocaching? Excellent question. Here's my move, right? Here, I'm looking around, right? Looking for the geocache. I start saying stuff like, those dang keys. Ah, dang it. My dang keys. While I'm looking around, I'll get under the bench. I'm looking underneath the bench like, these dang keys. I thought they'd be attached to the bottom of the bench. Dang it. I say that even if no one's around, just because it delights me. These dang keys. What's this? I've never found a body. No. I have found like things that I think I wasn't supposed to move, like electrical stuff. Watch out for that. if it has a lightning bolt on it, don't touch it. You're not Harry Potter. Are you gonna hunt for geocaches today? Probably not. It's a little cool here. Looking for other questions. If people do stop you though, tell them like, "Hey, listen, I want to." There was a guy once at a church, and I was in the parking lot, and he was like sitting outside, and he was kind of looking at me. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Did you know there's a treasure right here? I want to blow your mind for a second. There's a treasure right here in this place that you've gone every day for the last few years. There's a treasure box right there." Amazing. What's the lamest geocache? I think they're all beautiful and unique. I will say though, I don't like the very tiny ones, although you do get sense of satisfaction, but I like the dopamine hit of seeing weird stuff people have left. Uh, puzzle caches. Puzzle caches. I just don't have the patience for it. I also don't have like a GPS device that I can be specific with my GPS location with. I'm sure there's a better way of doing it, but I just like to keep it simple. I usually, I don't like to take a lot of time for it. How do you track where other caches are? Is a website where people talk about locations. Perhaps you've come in late, but the geocaching app is just called geocaching, and that's where they're all listed. Have you ever made anything to place? No, I'm not a particularly crafty person. Are caches in people's backyards okay? Well, okay. If you have a very big backyard and it's your backyard, then you can. But again, you probably want to find a way for it to be accessible that isn't walking through your yard, because that would be kind of a bummer. So typically like public land is the way to go. What was your messiest cache? There's one off the park and ride at Fifth Street Hill, the one out Fifth Street park and ride near 64. If you park there and you walk up that hill, there's a real steep hill there that I was like me and Tommy and Mary and Sydney and Riley, I think, all like scaling that and trying desperately not to die. It took us like 45 minutes to climb up it. That was extremely messy. That's out Fifth Street Hill if you want to get one there. That is going to do it for me. The stream dropped out, but I'd say everything I need to say anyway. And through the magic of editing, I've stitched this this grand finale onto the end. Basic thing I want to say is geocaching is fun, and I hope you try it. And if you get out and find a good cache, tweet it at me at Justin McElroy. I'd love to see it. Enjoy, stay safe, stay hopeful, stay home. I love you very much.